we learned across this season that Vanessa has been engaged like 4 times, but never been married. So, how does one get the bright idea that after just a few weeks together, let's propose to the woman who is constantly engaged but never getting married? That just seems like such a good idea, right? No. So I just watched the finale of Age of Attraction, which dropped today on Netflix, and don't know how I feel about it. Don't feel great about it, to be honest. This will probably be more of a negative review. I just feel like it kind of went out with a whimper and was boring, and then the ending really rubbed me the wrong way. So let's get into this finale, which basically was they separate for a few days or something and then come back together for the commitment ceremony. We did not get to see them in their alone time thinking about the relationship from the outside. And then they have to come to the commitment ceremony, see each other again, and decide if they want to commit to each other or not. And I actually like that it's just a commitment ceremony. I think it's ridiculous that Love is Blind makes people get married after a few weeks. But that kind of ties into the ending of this that really rubbed me the wrong way. But we'll get to that last, I think. Let's talk about the couple that didn't make it, because 4 out of the 5 couples decided to commit to each other. Leah and Chris were the 2 that did not commit to each other. I'm not surprised. From jump, I've said they only have a physical connection. I thought that was pretty clear. Chris especially just seemed to be there for a good time altogether. I don't think Chris was ever going to commit to anybody. As for Leah, who in the end was ready to commit to Chris, I think it was a ridiculous decision on her part too, because I don't see what she saw in that connection other than the physical connection. I feel as though Leah is crazy if she thinks that they had something beyond that physical connection, because it just wasn't there. They have very different communication styles for once. He wants a lot of alone time. She doesn't. I think they just don't have a lot in common. I get it, when you have a strong physical connection, of course you wanna keep going there and keep it together. But outside of that, I am kind of baffled that Leah put herself out there too much for Chris in the end, because they didn't have it beyond that physical connection. John and Teresa got the biggest edit this season. It seems like it was what the show was most proud of because of their connection. I, for one, still can't get over how manipulative Teresa got as the season went on. And I still do think that John can do better. That's how I felt after episode 6 and 7. And it's still how I feel after this episode. She still ends the season without her kids knowing John's real age. And yeah, I get it. She read a letter from her children saying that they accept John because he clearly makes Teresa happy. They don't care what his age is, which is very cool of them. They're adult children at this point. I don't think they should care too much about whoever their mom is dating, at least the age of them, as long as their mom is happy, which clearly John is such a lover boy, man. I mean, at the beginning of the episode, before they depart to have their alone time, John is bringing her flowers. I think John is such a good guy and ready for such a commitment. And Teresa can't be proud of this relationship. And even in the end, she's still not proud of their relationship. They're talking about how maybe one day Teresa can get to a point where she is proud of their relationship no matter what the outside world thinks. And yada, yada, yada. While me on the outside world thinks that John could do better. And I still do feel that way. But, hopefully John is happy in that relationship. I hope he gets out of that relationship what he wants, if they are still together. I don't know. I tried to look it up. We'll talk about that in the end. But John and Teresa do commit to one another. And hopefully Teresa can get to a good place. But if she stays as manipulative as she has shown herself to be, I do feel for John. Andrew and Libby also committed to each other. I don't believe in this relationship at all. I'm sorry. I don't think Libby has shown one time that she is ready for a mature relationship with a man that has children that aren't close to her age. I am not surprised that she went through with the commitment in the end, because I do still feel like Libby is just trying to be famous off of this show. I've seen TikToks from her, and they have only reinforced the fact that I feel like Libby came on this show as a way to get famous. A lot of people go on dating shows these days just for that and not actually to find love. And then on the other side of things, I think Andrew clearly just wants Libby for sex. Plain and simple. That's how I feel about it. I don't understand. As someone who is almost Andrew's age, I feel like Andrew getting what he got out of Libby, every time Andrew would bring up a serious talk to Libby, basically I just felt like Andrew would go to Libby with serious issues. And Libby would be like, oh, I never thought about that. And Libby would almost never have a good response. The only time Libby has had a good response is the times that she says that Andrew brings more into her life. Like it's an addition to her life and it doesn't take away from her life. But that was the thing she always said. She never said anything else mature anytime Andrew brought up a serious conversation about their relationship, about their future, about meeting his children. I just don't buy it from Andrew that he truly believes that this relationship is for the long haul. It's kind of like the Chris and Leah thing for me. I think Andrew sees this as a fun time for him. I don't know if they've had sex yet while the show is still going. And if they haven't, that just reinforces my feeling that Andrew wanted to commit to get to that place. And maybe somewhere in Andrew's mind, he really is hoping that it works out in the long term. I'm not convinced of that. Sorry. I am happy for Pfeiffer and Derek, though. Although I still worry about their physical connection, even when they saw each other for the first time after not seeing each other for a few days. They just had a weak little hug together. Maybe it's Pfeiffer's walls still up when it comes to, physically showing love for each other. But it was no surprise that a Cancer and a Pisces had such an emotional commitment ceremony. I loved Pfeiffer's speech. I thought it was indicative to her background, where she's been in a lot of shit relationships, it sounds like. She always was with men that treated her like shit. And so I feel like that is where Pfeiffer is coming from a lot of times in these conversations with Derek, saying that she never saw herself as someone who would be moving across the country for a man with children, and that's where all her fear is coming in. He has felt like they had an authentic connection from jump. He was always comfy with her, and it seemed like vice versa. But then she went on to say that he's a better man than she ever even dreamed of being with, and she can't imagine a future without him right now. And after they moved in together for a little while, she was even more confident that he is one of the best men she has ever met. And she thinks that if she left without him, she would regret it for the rest of her life, because people spend their whole lives looking for a connection like theirs. And from what I've seen from the edit, I really do like their connection. And, for me, I like to bring astrology into it and chalk it up to some astrology that they're both water signs, so of course they have this soft relationship where they're patient with each other's emotions, which is something as a fellow water sign I appreciate seeing in a relationship. So I've always liked their connection. I've always liked them. They're my two favorites from the show, whether together or not. I hope they really do survive out there in the real world together, because I know water signs' emotions run deep, and we just want someone to protect our heart if we're going to be vulnerable with them, which is why I think Pfeiffer has had all those fears. He's giving her promises that he will always protect her and her heart. Gave her the key to their place together, which used to be his place in Dallas. So if she's really taking that commitment seriously and moving across the country to Dallas, I have to believe she's all into this. I'm happy for them. Let's get to Logan and Vanessa, who pissed me off. Let's just talk about them getting engaged at the end. I can't tell if this is Logan being crazy or if this was a TV moment. Because we learned across this season that Vanessa has been engaged like 4 times, but never been married. So how does one get the bright idea that after just a few weeks together, let's propose to the woman who is constantly engaged but never getting married? That just seems like such a good idea, right? No. I was so confused by this and honestly turned off from the whole episode after Logan did his whole dramatic thing at the end, taking away her commitment ring but giving her an engagement ring. I thought it was a joke. I do not see them having a good connection. I think Vanessa has been the most manipulative person besides maybe Jorge this entire season. And yeah, I don't like it. I don't like them getting engaged. I don't think it's a good thing for the show. For a show that's trying to make people okay with age gap relationships, some of which are extreme. I don't think Vanessa, who has been manipulative because of her insecurities, I get that it's her insecurities that makes her manipulative at times, but nonetheless, she's still been manipulative. And so for her to get an engagement out of this, it felt like a joke. And it really did annoy me with this entire episode. So whatever. I don't know if I should take this engagement seriously or if it's just a TV thing. That's how I felt about it in the end. I tried to look up if these couples are still together, and it was hard to find information about it. They made it seem like all these couples are still together. Although there was questions about Andrew and Libby because of some of Libby's TikToks and because at some point recently they unfollowed each other. So people weren't sure if they were still together, if they were just friends or not. I don't know. If I have to watch the Vial files to figure that out, then I probably will never figure that out because I don't like to watch dumbass Nick Vial, who, by the way, he and his wife, horrible hosts, just robotic and terrible all season long. At least they were not in this episode. I guess that's one good thing. But it seems like we would have to watch his podcast to find out if these couples are still together because there's no reunion that I see. So if I do find out more information, and if I still care when I find out that information, I might make some videos about these couples if they are still together. But honestly, I don't really like most of them. I am very happy for Feifer and Derek, but the rest of them have kind of made me feel a little skeevy about their relationships at some point over these past few episodes.